Are you unknowingly driving students away with your lesson plans? If you're a new yoga teacher, you're likely making one of these two big mistakes when planning your classes. You're going to see yourself in one of these two archetypes. And by the end of the video, you'll know how to save time and create classes your students rave about, all while delivering a balanced sequence that feels fantastic. I've been teaching yoga for over 2 decades and have trained over 1,000 yoga teachers. And here's what I've observed. New teachers often fall into one of two categories, type A or type B. This is a gentle call out and a call to center, whichever one you are. Let's start with type A teachers. These folks cleave way too tightly to one sequence. There's too much stability in their planning, a lack of sukha or ease to balance the sthira or steadiness. Imagine this, you're working at a fast food restaurant. You've got one recipe for a burger, and you're flipping the same patty day in and day out. It's predictable, reliable, but kind of boring, right? Type A teachers are like fry cooks in this way. They find one or two go-to sequences, and they repeat them in cookie-cutter fashion every single time. Is your teaching stuck in a repetitive rut? You might be type A, the fry cook. It's like they've laminated their lesson plan and are afraid to deviate from it. This might feel safe for the teacher, but for the students, it can quickly become stale and uninspiring. Without enough sukha, adaptability, joy, the practice feels rigid and uninspired. But there's a way to bring life back into these sequences. Now let's look at the other side of the spectrum, type B teachers. These folks embrace complete freedom. There's too much flexibility in their planning, a lack of sthira or steadiness to anchor the sukha or ease. Picture this, you're in an artist's studio and it's a whirlwind of colors, canvases, and brushes scattered everywhere. There's no structure, just vibes. Type B teachers create their lesson plans in a similar way. They wing it, teaching whatever strikes them in the moment. Maybe they saw a cool flow on Instagram that morning and decide to try it out in class. Or maybe they're just reading the room and making it up as they go. While spontaneity can bring energy to a class, too much of it can leave students feeling disoriented. Without sthira, steadiness or grounding, the practice can feel unmoored, and students may struggle to find a sense of progression or purpose. Have you ever felt like your class lacked a clear direction? You might be a type B yoga teacher. So why don't these approaches work? Your students need both consistency and variety. Both are essential for keeping your classes engaging and effective. If you're always teaching the same sequence, there's no variety. Students stop feeling challenged and their growth stagnates. If you're always teaching something different, there's no consistency. Students can't track their progress and their practice feels chaotic. This is where Exercise Physiology 101 comes in. For students to grow in their practice, they need progressive overload, gradually increasing the challenge to build strength and flexibility. They need specificity, focusing on particular skills or areas of the body to create targeted improvements. If you're too rigid, you miss the variety students need for progressive overload. And if you're too freeform, you miss the consistency students need for specificity. Like so many things in yoga, we need to find the middle path. Let this be your call to center. And the solution is simpler than you might think. The solution: create a flexible framework for your lesson plans. Think of it like a recipe. You have the basic ingredients and structure, but you can season it to suit the needs of your students that day. By balancing sthira, steadiness, and sukha, ease, you can create classes that feel both grounded and adaptable. Here's how to get started. Use a tried and true template for your framework, like my Greatest Hits lesson plan. This gives you a solid foundation that ensures both consistency and variety. Plan your sequences with a balance of repetition and exploration. Include familiar poses that students can build on over time, and mix in new elements to keep things fresh. Be intentional about your focus. Choose a theme, a movement pattern, or a specific area of the body to guide your planning. This brings clarity and purpose to your classes. Stay open to making tweaks and adjustments. Do read the room and modify your plan as needed, but always with the structure of your framework in mind. When you approach lesson planning this way, you'll hit the sweet spot between consistency and variety. Your students will feel both supported and challenged. They'll see their progress, they'll stay engaged, and they'll keep coming back to your classes. Want to save time planning your classes? Download my Greatest Hits lesson plan at the link in the description. It's your go-to template for creating balanced, creative sequences that your students will love. You'll also find tons more ideas for sequencing your yoga lesson plans in my book, The Art of Yoga Sequencing. Remember, your students deserve a practice that's both consistent and varied. And you deserve the confidence that comes from knowing your classes are effective, engaging, and memorable. Find your middle path between Type A and Type B, balancing Sthira and Sukha, and watch how it transforms your teaching and your career.